Good evening, everybody. Welcome tonight on a Tuesday, the 3rd of September, for episode 147 of So What's Been Happening. Tonight, we're lucky enough to be joined by Ban Chamie from Restless Leg. Restless Leg, you say? Great name, I must admit. And it's ironic that the horrendous weather that we've been having in Melbourne in the last couple of days due to incredible winds definitely would have brought on some restless legs for some people trying to get to sleep in amongst that time. So it's very ironic that we get to have a chat to Ben tonight about upcoming or just album just being released, which we will talk about shortly. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring Ben up and we're going to have a chat shortly. So welcome, Ben, for joining us on episode 147 of So What's Been Happening. Nice of you to join us.
Hi, Aaron. Thanks for having me.
It's an exciting time. We get to transport ourselves into your lounge room or living room for a little chat about Restless Leg and your kind of music career. So we'll touch on a little bit of what's been going on in your life and your earliest memories and all sorts of things tonight. But we're going to kick off with, we might start, given you've been nice enough to play a couple of songs for us, we might even kick off with an early one.
Okay, so yeah, live song to start.
Good, yeah, why not?
Okay, this song's called "Forever Follows You," and it was off not this most recent record, but the one before, which was called "Dream Buffet." And I don't get to play it very often, but I thought I'd play it tonight anyway. So here we go. The past is a shadow that forever follows you. Where you go, what you do. Where there is a shadow, there must be a light, and it's push and pulling me to and fro. From pillar to post, hell and water high. Darling, you ain't seen a ghost, it just hasn't led me back this way for a long time. Though I am weary, I'll keep walking on over same old ground, really new. And I'll sigh the lack of things that I saw, and wail on my old woes anew. Time moves on like a heavenly host. I follow its light. Darling, you ain't seen a ghost, it just hasn't led me back this way for a long time.
Yeah, beautiful, mate. That was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, you mentioned off the last album. Where did that fit into the last album?
That was I think the second last song on the last album. There's quite a few kind of acoustic songs, or songs with acoustic guitar on them, but that one was pretty much just me and the guitar. But I also, have one of the the mouth organ and the those terrible brace things that you have to wear to play them, all at the same time. But I didn't want to subject myself or the audience or you to that terrible sight. It just I just think they're such ugly kind of things. So
a little tough, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just on that, I mean, let's touch on just being able to strip back and play just you and the guitar. Pretty special connection, being a guitarist and being able to strip back and play slightly different versions of things over time.
Yeah, it is really it's not something I do much really. Most of all the songs pretty much, except maybe that one and I don't know, maybe one or two others across our 4 albums, with a full band. So I do feel a bit kind of exposed, I guess, without the band behind me and making a whole racket that'll hide all my mistakes and and it's a real mental kind of support, I suppose, that you got all this sound behind you. It is nice to play just like this with the guitar, because this is how I write all the songs anyway. So it's kind of how it all starts normally.
Yep. Well, we'll touch on that songwriting process shortly, but I want to take you back a little bit to just a young boy growing up. What's your first memory of some music in amongst the house? Was it in the house, or was it down the road, or on the radio? What do you remember?
All right. Well, yeah, I guess probably my earliest memories are probably of my grandmother. She had a little record player, and she'd always play. I have memories of her playing, really great records. Like she was a big Elvis fan, actually. And even things like Roy Orbison and that kind of a lot of 50s kind of music and stuff like that. But also she always had in Sydney this radio station called 2CH. It's like a full easy listening AM radio kind of station, and she'd always have that on. If not the records, then always that. So I guess they're my earliest memories of music, as a young kid. And I think she bought like one of the very first tapes I ever got, which was, I think, Michael Jackson Bad, or one of the earlier records. I can't remember. But so she was probably a big influence. I hadn't really reflected on that for ages. So it's a good question.
Yeah, it's always interesting to reflect back on your kind of first moments in music, and then obviously watching the TV. Kind of what struck you, obviously with Elvis with a guitar. What was that? One of those moments as a kid that you look back now, and was it your first instrument you picked up, and what did influence you in your very early days?
Oh wow! Well, I mean, I remember when I kind of was interested in maybe playing an instrument. I wanted to play drums, and my mum, said, "No way, you're going to bring a drum kit into the house." She wanted me to play piano, so we kind of met halfway, and settled on guitar. And I think one of my teachers had a word to her, because she was asking, "Oh, what instrument do you think my son might play?" And she suggested, well, a guitar, you can always just pick it up and take it wherever you're going. And she suggested that it's a nice idea, being able to carry around a guitar and just sit down and play a tune when the feeling strikes you. So my mum decided to get me a guitar, and that was it, really. That was probably the end of primary school, and then I kind of, dabbled in it, not seriously, through high school until probably the end of high school, when my mates started playing other instruments and we could kind of, make a racket together. And that's when it really, the bug bit hard, I think.
Right. Yep. Any other influence from being a young kid? Was music in the family? Anyone else play any instruments, or?
Not really. My parents had a really kind of eclectic record collection at home, but they weren't big listeners of music, and no one in my family was really musical at all. So it's just more kind of just just finding friends that had that interest as well, and kind of tagging along with them and kind of discovering it together with friends.
And was there that one kid at school that you kind of wanted to be like, or was it a school band that kind of kicked you off? How did you kind of, obviously you ended up with a guitar, but who kind of got you together and decided music was going to be your kind of journey?
Oh, well, that's so, the precursor band, I guess, to Restless Leg was Peabody. And that started in, well, the band didn't start when I was in high school, but the people in that band, and my oldest friend from high school is Bruno Breivik, who sang and played guitar in Peabody. He was probably, we kind of started hanging out together towards the end of high school, probably in the last year or so of high school. That together, that's when we kind of, at the end of school, we decided, all right, let's have a proper go at this. And we, went through various incarnations and people came and went, but that was the embryo of that band. We started probably a few years out of high school. But he was the one probably who really educated me in music and, gave me all these tapes and discs and things of bands he liked, and how it is you egg each other on and discover new things and share them. So
was it some common ground kind of early in amongst that band, or was there some influences from probably things you hadn't heard before, or you thought, geez, I'm not really into this, but I'll kind of go along for the ride and see where it takes me?
Yeah, like he was really into a lot of he had quite a broad taste for, even when early on, and some of the stuff he liked, like he was really into a lot of cock rock stuff, and I really hated that stuff actually. I don't know, I was into all this like NWA and AEST and all this kind of stuff, which was kind of weird place to start for a guitar player, but then we kind of discovered, I suppose, the grunge thing came along and it changed. It kind of made, punky kind of guitar music cool again, and it was out there in the mainstream and it was easy to access, and so I guess we kind of got on the same page with that stuff, and then started to discover all the music that came before and fed into that whole grunge kind of movement. So
do you remember that band that really did it for you in those kind of early days, in that early grunge phase?
Well, yeah, I mean, Nirvana was the one that kind of cracked it all open, so there was them. As far as Australian bands go, it was probably UMI, like their very first kind of EPs and their first album, Sound As Ever, was kind of life-changing for us, and they were the kind of band that you could go to the. I remember driving across town in my mum's Gemini to I think it was the Manly Surf Club or something, and or a youth club or something up on the northern beaches, and seeing UMI play, and the place was heaving, and teenage boys, we just threw ourselves into the mosh pits and just just destroyed ourselves, basically. Come out all sweaty and just bruised and battered, but so much fun and just visceral, kind of energy in the band that the band just pumped out. It was amazing. So that those early experiences, Friendsarom and all that kind of punk scene that was going on in Sydney at the time was also a lot of all ages shows. There's so many good bands, I could rattle some of them off, but anyway, it was a really thriving kind of scene, and that we kind of found and just got amongst it all.
Incredibly lucky we've been with Australian music over this time, and so many. Yeah, when we look back now, so many identifiable Australian bands that kind of we grew up with and probably didn't give them the probably greatest respect that we did. We're always kind of searching for something overseas, and it was all of a sudden where I found myself over time, really going back and looking through some of these Australian artists, and geez, they got an incredible back collection. When you think of sometimes you think, I'm over that guy, and you go back and listen to some of their old stuff, and it's just unbelievable. So we really bat well above our average in amongst music for sure.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, it's like the Paris Olympics, we absolutely punch above our weight. So in music as well. So yeah, and just casting my mind back to all that music that was there then. We were spoiled. We were really lucky, I suppose.
We were. We're going to play a few clips in from this latest album, but we're going to get you to do one more live for us, and then you can have a little rest while we talk a little bit more.
Okay.
What have you got for us?
All right. Well, this one's called The World's a Room. So before the show kicked off, we were talking a bit about lockdown. So this was one that was written we're at the tail end of the lockdown, and it was again, this one's off the last record that we did called Dream Buffet. So turns out all the world's a room. I walked for miles in my room. I climbed a mountain, climbed a stair. I reached the peak, I got nowhere. In the very same moment, I thought crept through my mind. I thought I'd see you there. How do you pass the time? The walls sit and stare. Turns out the world is a room. Oh, the world in one little room. Oh, won't you come around? Another voice, a welcome sound. Come sail the sea across my floor. Crash the port of the cliff, my front door. I know, never should have closed it. I thought crept through my mind. I thought I'd see you there. How do you pass the time? The walls, I sit and stare. Turns out the world is a room. Oh, the world in one little room. Oh, won't you come around? 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 Won't you come around?
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. Oh God, talk about bring back some memories. Sadly, some bad ones of us in amongst lockdown that we discussed off air just a little bit before. But to bring it into the conversation, yeah, boy, did we want some people to come around when we got locked down in Melbourne pretty harshly. So just tell us a little bit about the thought process of writing during that phase. Did you write much during those lockdown kind of eras or that phase?
Well, it's funny, kind of, I guess in Sydney, there are kind of, I guess, two kind of main lockdown periods. And at the end of the first one, I did write quite I don't know, I guess it was kind of novel, and, it was kind of not so bad. And it seemed that there was a bit of hope at the end of that kind of lockdown. And yeah, so I did write quite a few songs that, including that one and the last one I played, that ended up on that record Dream Buffet. So we came out of that first lockdown, and we recorded that album pretty quick smart after that, and put it out when things were kind of starting to reopen. And I don't know, really, in hindsight, I don't know what we were thinking, because we put it out and then it all went belly up, and everything got canned. And anyway, so then the second lockdown, which was much longer and uncertain, I think, as to how it was all going to unfold. And I didn't write anything much during that time. I just kind of moped around, really. So yeah, it was quite different experiences through those different periods. But yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear from a musician's point of view, kind of what happened in their mind. During that phase, obviously a lot got shut down. We lost so many good venues. We lost so many good musicians in amongst that phase. We all know what comes, from a lockdown phase, and I think we're still seeing some collateral damage years on, with confidence on tours, with bands that never reformed. Some good, I must admit, did come from it. Some young bands, or older bands even, reunited during that phase, or got together, became garage bands in some instances, wrote music, collaborated on music. So it kind of wasn't all bad, but it's always interesting to hear, unique kind of processes and what happened in amongst your life. But you mentioned before that the guitar is kind of an integral part of your songwriting process and how you go about it. Has that always been the case, or is it kind of just as the last couple of albums have progressed?
Yeah, definitely. No, it's really been from the beginning, really. It's such a basic kind of and accessible kind of instrument. You can pick up a guitar for not much money, and just bash away at it, and sometimes you'll get some ideas will coalesce around something, and then you kind of get a song together. So it's always been the process. But when I was in Peabody, I was actually playing bass in that band, so it's kind of interesting in that I was writing songs on a guitar, but then would play the bass parts to it, and I would often be thinking about the bass lines, whereas now I don't worry about that. That's the bass player's job to write their bass parts. So so Fiona Wally does that, plays bass in Restless Leg, so I leave that to her. But yeah, no, guitar has always been where it began and ended, really, as far as my songwriting went.
Sure. And has the process been any different in this last album or latest album to previous? Obviously, this album being Dance Around My Head.
Yeah, I think this one had, each album and the group of songs that come together to form an album, I think, it's always a little bit different each time. And this time, like I said, the last one, there were a few songs that wrote just by myself, beginning to end, and they were fully formed and arranged kind of songs, just because I was had so much time on my hands just to think it all out and finalize it before it was ever before I ever took it to the rehearsal room. Whereas with this album, it was, I'd bring the songs to the band much earlier in the process. So I might just have a sketch of a song, or just a basic idea about something, and we'd just I'd bring it to the rehearsal room and we'd just play around with it a bit. And we just would kind of work on iterations of songs and rearranging to try and get it together. And so it was a bit more of a band organic kind of record, this one. So it was really enjoyable. I enjoyed it.
Great. Well, one thing that's really intrigued me is 3 great clips you've put together for 3 of these songs you've released as singles so far in this album. And hopefully I've got this one right, but Sow a Little Seed was the first one released on this album.
Yes.
We're going to play a little bit of that clip, and then we're going to talk about kind of how this one came together. But Sow a Little Seed maybe is a great little reflection for us post-COVID about getting back our life. Well, here we go. Let's play this one.
Okay.
A short little song, but very catchy and poppy. Show a Little Seed, as I mentioned, but in this case, Show a Little Seed of Doubt. I'm really intrigued by that. Talk to me about that one, Ben.
Yeah, right. Sow a Little Seed. Sow a Little Seed of Doubt. So that was a funny one. It's actually, that was part of one song, and then it kind of had too many parts, so we pulled it together and it became 2 songs. So there's another song on our record called Restless Leg. On our sorry, what am I talking about? The song is called Pure Hallucination, and so that's like, it's a sister song to Sow a Little Seed, but they're kind of about the same kind of thing, which is really about kind of deluding yourself in a way, but really happy with the way Sow a Little Seed turned out, because it's such a short, kind of succinct little thing, and its sister song is a lot more dirgy and kind of long. So I don't know. I don't know how they were actually part of the same song. Now I look back at it, but anyway, that's how it turns out sometimes.
Yeah. Is there any other references that happened before? Where you've got a song kind of merged into 2, or we've got a couple of songs here?
Geez, I'm sure it's happened before. I'm sure I've had. Yeah, I mean, I think when you're writing a song, you'll have a bit of a song that it's like, it doesn't quite work, and then so you kind of lop it off, and then down the track you might go, that bit actually fits in this new song that you're writing. So I think it's not uncommon, but this one was just such a, it's like, it was so kind of neatly done. It just kind of came apart, and there were 2 songs at the end of it. So yeah. It's kind of a strange thing, but it is how it happened.
Yeah, right. And we're big on album art in amongst our discussion. So I just want to bring up the cover for So Little Seed. Just tell us a little bit about this one. Some interlocking kind of portraits, mosaics here. I think it's a great little cover.
Oh, right. Yeah. That one was actually it was a mock-up that we were tossing around album art covers, and that one came together, and it was voted out, but we liked it, so we liked it so much that we thought we'd use it for the single artwork. So it's actually got a bit of every band member. So myself, Adam Taylor, our guitarist, Jared Harrison, and Fee, we're all in that cover somewhere. There's little photos or bits of us pasted together. And the photos were taken at the Pet Food Factory studio where we recorded it, and plus a couple of other photos that we took during the, we did a bit of a photo shoot to do up some press photos and things ahead of this album. So all the photos came from those sessions, and whacked them together and played around with it and came up with the artwork.
And a great clip too. Would have been a little bit of fun shooting that clip. Tell us a little bit about how long those kind of clips can take to film. Was it a quick one, or was it took a bit of time to get all that detail in?
No, that one was really quite quick. We shot. It's amazing. We're always trying to work out how to make a clip for as little money as possible. And, I think that clip, we didn't spend much money. I bought some flowers, some chalk, and some bubbles or something like. So, we didn't spend, it was a really bargain basement kind of in terms of cost, but the idea I thought was good, and it came together just on a Saturday morning. I think we went to just near our bass player's house in the burbs in Sydney, and it was a nice day, and just mucked around on near this park on the pavements there, and got a few funny looks from passers-by, but it was a fun clip, and it took a few hours to shoot, and then cut it together in a little while after that.
Yeah, well, I think it's come up great, as I'm sure you've had some great feedback from. It's a great little song. So we'll move on from So Little Seed. Make sure you check that one out. We're going to play a little bit of Stay Gold, which is the next release, I believe, from the album. We're going to play a minute or so of this, and then we'll have a chat about it as well.
Okay, cool.
There you're going to go. We'll let you jump into that one and jump on YouTube and make sure you check that one out and play the rest of the clip. So Stay Gold. It's a great one. Tell us a little bit about where did this come in amongst the album recording? Obviously 10 songs on the album. Where did this kind of come in amongst the writing process? where do you remember how kind of late or early in the process it came?
Yeah, I think it was kind of towards the end of the writing process, but it came together really, really quickly, actually. I think, we were kind of, I think we had I think it was in the last batch of songs I wrote, because we were like, oh, we've got a good bunch, but we need a few more just to kind of have enough to comfortably record, and in case there's usually sometimes one or a couple don't turn out the way you like, and you can discard them. So we needed a few more just to have that safety kind of a bit of a buffer, if you like. It just came together really quickly, and I think I was kind of stuck on the phrasing and the melody, and I just remember taking my dog for a walk for a couple of hours, just walking around, just kind of kicking words around in my head, and finally it kind of all came together, and I quickly went home and jotted down the lyrics and the phrasing and the melody, and that was that, really. So yeah, it was a nice one. It doesn't happen like that very often, but right. It was a good one.
Some gold definitely comes out of those kind of moments when you least expect it, maybe. But I'm really intrigued on how you put together the song list, as far as what obviously not what goes on the album, but how it sits on the album and the structure. How much deliberation went in amongst this one?
This was terrible. I hate sequencing records. It's just very it's a battle of wills, if you like, amongst the band. And I also don't trust myself when sequencing, because you're so close to the songs and so invested in them, and you really love this one, but and so it's hard to see the wood from the trees and try and see it objectively. So I think so we'll kind of have the songs on a bit of a kind of group playlist, if you like, and have a listen to them, and then we circulate some kind of draft sequences for the record, and then basically we'll get together with a case of beer or something, and at someone's place, and just nut it out in an evening. So this was really, I thought it was difficult. Some difficult choices were made. There's a song that ended up as a B-side to Stay Gold called Blood on the Vines, and it's an instrumental track, and Fee plays sax. It's kind of the lead instrument. And it's a bit of it's a very quirky exotica type song, and I anyway ended up getting booted off the record and ended up as a B-side, and I was totally didn't expect it, but it's something that the rest of the band kind of all came to and suggested, and I was like, oh, just let me sleep on it, kind of thing. But then I went, okay, I think you guys are probably right. So ended up not on the record, but it's always such a hard, I find that just excruciating to make those decisions.
Yep. Yeah, I can fully understand. And obviously being able to put this album out on vinyl, was that a must for you guys? I know vinyl's very much back. Some will argue it never left, but it's very much back in popularity. Some are even putting out cassettes these days, which is, I think, is a nice and interesting twist. But in this case, obviously vinyl. How important was it for you guys as a band to put this out on vinyl?
Yeah, look, I think for us it's very important. We, I love vinyl, and so do my bandmates, and when music's so accessible and streaming, and streaming's just so readily available, and there's so much music out there, it's nice to have an artifact, and the artwork's nice and big, and you can something tangibly feel, and then you take the disc out and drop it, and it's such a great little ritual. And I think, you know, people that like our band are generally music fans that like to buy vinyl, and it's something good to have at shows to sell and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's really important to us, and thankfully the good people at Sinister Porpoise Records you know, made it all possible for us to release it on vinyl this time, because we didn't have as much of a budget for this record, and you know, pressing vinyl is still very costly. So if it wasn't for our label, Sinister Porpoise, who put out the record, yeah, it wouldn't have happened. So we're eternally grateful to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Always a plug for you know, very much a label that has the confidence, and it's really hard to get signed by labels these days, and to be able to back up, you know, album after album. Obviously, you guys are 4 albums in now. Have they all been with the same label?
No, this is the first one with Sinister Porpoise, and it was really well, Sinister Porpoise, we were the first release on that imprint. That's an imprint of Lovers Fiction Records. It's a fellow, his name's Matt Tutt, and he's based over in Perth in WA. And Lovers Fiction has done a lot of reissues of bands like Bluebottle Kiss and the Panics and Ammonia and Big Heavy Stuff. So a lot of bands from you know, probably the 90s and noughties, early noughties.
Yeah.
And that's been a purely reissue based label. And at the time, I think we were recording, they put out released a Bluebottle Kiss record, and I was on their mailing list, and I can't remember what prompted me to do it, but I just shot Matt an email back saying, hey, you probably know that we're recording this album. Jamie Hutchings from Bluebottle Kiss is producing. You know, have you ever thought of releasing new music through your label? And he wrote back nearly straight away saying, actually, I have been thinking about this, and yeah, be interested in talking about putting out your record. And I think I nearly fell off my chair, but but anyway, it went from there. We had a few conversations, and it was really timely, and it all just, you know, Matt was such a great guy, so organized and smart, and kind of gave us a few propositions, did all the maths and crunched the numbers, and kind of, yeah, decided to do it. So yeah, it was really good. So good.
Just goes to show that if you don't ask, you never know these days, right? You've got to ask.
That's it. Yeah, you got to shot in the dark, and look what happened. It was amazing.
Just on that, I'm sure you got a few kind of words of wisdoms of something you've kind of learnt over time for some of these young musicians trying to cut a path or make a way in kind of music now. Have you got any kind of one kind of piece of information that they could kind of take on and as an artist that's been there and done it for a little while now?
Oh wow. Well, yeah, I'm not sure, but I think the main, I think someone told me once, you know, if you want to be part of, you know, some bands and live music especially, then you've got to get out there and support it yourself. And yeah, any kind of success or, you know, achievement, I suppose, in this space has always been through the people I've met by going out there and being a fan of bands and speaking to people and getting into it, you know. So if you're going to do anything, I think you have to support others doing the same, seeking to do the same thing, and you'll find people that are like-minded and will work together to make it all happen. Yeah.
Yep. Get in there and mingle, and you never know whose gig list you might end up on as a support, or you know, and it's fantastic. I love seeing supports that end up being, you know, the main gig. in amongst lots of shows that I see over time and over the years. So always make sure you get there early as a punter, and don't just turn up for the hero act for the night. You'll be amazed sometimes at some of the talent that sits in the early days or the early parts of the gig.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Have you got a particular band kind of out of Sydney, I guess? Let's stay local for the second. That's kind of, whether it's an upcoming band or a band that we kind of may not know of as a first hear. Have you got someone that you think's doing some great things at the moment?
There are a few really good young bands that I've managed to stumble across, like you say, just as support acts or whatever. TV Repairman. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Great name.
They are a fantastic band. They are so good. They're like a little garage punk kind of band.
Yep.
But absolutely just so good. So if you ever get a chance down there, I think they've been down to Melbourne a few times. They're awesome. They're really worth checking out.
Okay.
Yeah, they're one. Another one is Bridge Dog. They're like a shoegazy kind of band.
Okay.
And they're really worth checking out if you get a chance as well.
Yeah, perfect. Right in my hitting zone for sure. That dreamy style music, I must admit I love. Although psych rock is back in a big way at the moment. There's plenty of people out there recording their version of that psych rock. But I want to touch on some upcoming gigs before we talk about the title track of this album. And it's exciting to be touring again. And it's not easy to put a tour together, even 4 or 5 gigs in amongst these days. This is kind of forms the best part of a month almost. Just tell us a little bit about what you've got coming up. Obviously, you're heading to Melbourne shortly for 2 gigs on the same day, which is exciting. One at a record store and one at Nighthawks in Melbourne. Cocoa Bananas first.
Yeah, really looking forward. We've not been to Melbourne as a band, so this is the first time we're down there. So really looking forward to it. Cocoa Bananas, I don't know a lot about it, but we were just calling them saying, hey, will you stock our record? And they went, yeah, but do you want to play a gig? Because that tends to help shift some units. So
definitely.
We'd love to. So playing there.
One thing that's fantastic to see in-store record gigs at the moment. They're really popular, and you're 100% right. They absolutely help move albums, but it gives us such a great feel. That little record store, it's not just a little record store, but it's a good size record store in Footscray in Melbourne. Cocoa Bananas, it's great. You'll love it, and obviously it's pride of place for the day, no doubt. Incredible to play that, and then off to Nighthawks. I take it in the evening on that. That'll be a great gig too, in amongst very much the mecca of Melbourne music, in amongst Johnson Street and that kind of area. There's plenty of little indie bars, which is really good to see. The live music scene is kind of underway back again in Melbourne. We've lost a few venues, but we've also picked up the slack on a couple of others, and nothing more important than these kind of gigs, whether they're midweek gigs or weekend gigs, to get out and support local music, and mostly support bars as well, because it's not just the musicians, it's all about the bar, the people, the glassies. There's everyone in amongst the music world that come together to form a night like this. It's not easy. Absolutely. So please get out there and try and support local music in amongst this time between now and Christmas. I urge you to get out and see as many gigs as you can and support bands exactly like Restless Leg that are doing the right thing and packing up the car and the plane and everything else you put together and trying to get on a tour. How hard was it to try and get this one up and off the line and trying to get half a dozen gigs together in around Melbourne and Sydney?
Well, so that list of gigs you showed was that's the back end of the tour. The tour's been actually 14 dates. So it was a lot of work to get it all together, and getting support acts and organising gear and then organising travel and everything else. So it's been a real kind of big effort for the whole band, because we do it all ourselves. So, but it's so much fun once you kind of once you start the first show, then you kind of got to just roll with it, because there's always unexpected things that happen, and good and bad.
Yeah.
And but it's never dull, so it's and it's been so much fun so far after not being able to do it for a while. So we're so keen to get down to Melbourne. Nighthawks, I think I've booked that place a dozen times or half a dozen times, but it just we couldn't do it until we had to cancel so many shows over the last couple of years. So finally this is happening. So we're so keen to get down there and play that show. But we're also playing lots of places we hadn't played before. So Elton Chong in Penrith is it's western suburbs of Sydney, and it's a little bar out there that's doing all guitar-based music. So all power to them. And there's lots of other little places that we're playing that are probably a bit out of the way and not places we'd normally play. So
great.
Yeah, it's what we wanted to do, and get out there and get out of the Marrickville Enmore triangle that
Sure.
we seem to live in Sydney. So yeah.
Oh, it's great that you're out supporting some of the smaller venues as well as some of the larger ones. It's great to see in amongst touring a new album, which must be a great feeling after the last couple of years of headache, to be out finally playing music a little bit more freely. What's the scene like in Sydney kind of at the moment, as far as, are venues filling up and selling out? I mean, that's always the challenge. Consumer confidence, I guess, is one thing that we talk about a little bit from a bar and a band booking venue point of view. Probably people with not as much expendable cash at the moment are questioning, how many gigs can they really get to in a week? But what's this kind of scene like in amongst Sydney at the moment?
Yeah, look, I think you've kind of hit it on the head. I think people are being a bit more careful with their money, or don't have as much money to spend. But that said, there's still a huge appetite for live music, and bands that really people want to see, they'll make an effort and get out and see them. I think recently there's a band called the Aerial Maps, and they put out a new record around about the same time we put out ours, kind of July this year, and they played their launch a couple of weeks ago, and it was absolutely chockers, and they were so thrilled, as a band, because they hadn't played a show like that for a while. So people came out and supported them, and it was a great night. Great that the band played so brilliantly, and everyone was in a great mood, and I had a great time. I went along, and it was so good. So there's definitely absolutely an appetite for it, and I think it's still there. It's just maybe a little bit inconsistent, I think. Sure. Some shows probably don't do as well as they should, but anyway, look, people will musicians are a tough bunch, and will soldier on, I think, regardless.
They sure are. There's definitely bands and bars and everyone else needs you at the moment. So please grab a friend of yours, get out and see one of these local acts. Maybe take someone that hasn't been out for a little while and out seen live music, because always the standard punters are out there checking out gigs, but to drag new people is really the key message for what we kind of want at the moment. And there's nothing better than album launches to go and see, where generally sometimes bands extend their lineup and play some extra instruments in amongst their normal lineup of band. Is there any little secret weapon that you're bringing along on this tour, or can we expect anyone else to jump up on stage at any stage?
Oh, look, we did that in for our Sydney launch, because I guess it's
easy to do there.
Home turf, and we could ring in a few favors so we brought in a brass section for that gig, and these session musos, they expect to get paid for playing music. It's kind of ridiculous. But anyway, so it was good to have them along. But unfortunately, we can't bring them down to Melbourne. But look, we've got Fiona Wally on, who plays saxophone. So she gets a go playing. There's a bit of instrument swapping, I guess, is
Right.
what we do. So
Perfect.
So we do mix it up, and we try to, keep it interesting for people that come along.
Well, I'm sure you will. That's for sure. All right, we're going to touch on the main event, I guess you'd say, in respect of a self-titled song for the album, "Dance Around My Head." We're going to play a little bit of this clip and then have a quick chat about it.
Okay.
There we go. Make sure you get out and check out this one. It's a beautiful new album, mate, and it's fantastic to be able to release new music in amongst this time. What else can we expect from Restless Leg in the next couple of years? Have you got anything in? I know we're getting it. Let's worry about this album first. But I must admit, it must be tough being able to have an album ready, not being able to tour it. And then kind of move on to the next one. Do you ever feel like that was kind of the last album was one of those, child that you just left in the corner and you didn't get to put it in front of people?
Look, we were so proud of that album when we made it, and I think it is probably our best. But we still play all those songs a lot in our set. So, it's not gone or forgotten as far as we're concerned. And but anyway, look, what can you do? What can you do? I think most bands have a sob story like that one. So from that time, so you move on and we'll. But the songs aren't forgotten. We keep playing them. But as for the years ahead, I don't know. I don't know if we have that long a view. But over the remainder of this year, we've got this tour to finish up, and then we have some really big shows lined up in Sydney at least, and then we'll probably aim to get back to Melbourne and other places that we're touring at the moment. So I guess they're our plans at this stage.
It's hard to believe nearly 10 years have passed as a band, you guys together. 2013 was your first self-titled album, Restless Leg, I believe. And to be able to release an album in 2024, 10 years on, must be a special feeling to finally be able to get it out there. And now you're hitting the road, touring a place you've never been before. That must be exciting too.
Yeah, absolutely. This band kind of got together and just to have some fun, and we didn't really aspire to play outside of Sydney for the first couple of records we put out, and anyway, here we are, over 10 years later, doing what a band does and play shows all over the place, and it's really heaps of fun. So that's why we keep doing it.
Great. And the name Restless Leg, I have to touch on. Great name too. But was there a name that was there a name that missed out? What was the close second?
Oh, look, you're the only person that's told me it's a good name for a band.
There you go.
It's like I said, we got this band together just kind of for fun and just to amuse ourselves, really. And I don't think we had a long list. It was just like, okay, we got this. Our first gig was at a friend's party in their backyard, and we just needed a name to play. So it was the most kind of awkward sounding name that I could think of at the time, and there it is. That's what it is. That's what it became. Forevermore.
Fair enough. All right. Now I'm just going to finish on one question. If there was one guitar riff you could be known for that you never wrote, have you got one that you would love to have claimed as your own? Tough question,
wow.
I know.
That is a tough question. Oh my goodness. Guitar riff. That is really tough.
What's the first one that comes to your mind? Is there something you've been even maybe listening to recently and just think, God, that's a good song. I wish I had written that.
Oh God, I think something comes to mind. The Saints, that like know your product. It's not really a guitar. It's not a guitar riff at all. It's the horn, the brass lines in that.
That's okay. We can go with that.
Yeah,
by all means,
go with that one. That
doesn't always have to be a guitar that kind of has one of those moments, and that's the magical part of music. As a musician, is there one instrument? I know you touched on drums before that you kind of wanted to potentially jump on as a youngster, but have you ever revisited the drums or got involved in drums at all?
No,
or is there one other instrument that you wish was kind of for you if it wasn't guitar?
Oh, look, I wish I could play drums, but I just am. I have had a go, but I'm hopeless. Basically, I'm too uncoordinated to do what drummers do. So unfortunately, no. But
says you who plays guitar, sings, and plays harp at the same time. So in amongst all that,
I think it must be a different part of your brain. I don't think you have to. Maybe it's a reptilian brain that helps you play drums or something. I don't know, but anyway.
Very much so. All right, so we're going to finish just with the album cover of this one, Dance Around My Head. How did the song Dance Around My Head become the title track for this album? At what stage did it kind of become that? Right, that's the album name.
It was just we're just kicking around different titles, and that's a line from that song, and it became the title of the song, and that song kind of felt like it was one that kind of had a bit of had bits of, or it was a good representative of the record, I suppose. So it became the title track, and it was pretty straightforward, really.
Beautiful. All right. Ben, it's been fantastic to join us. We've passed almost an hour of a chat, so we never really put a time frame on this, but I'm incredibly thankful for you being able to join us on episode 147 as we get closer to episode 150 of So What's Been Happening. This was never supposed to go past episode number 1. We always did it just to have a chat during the tough times during COVID, and it's kind of branched into something more than over time to chat to artists, musicians, sports personalities, and just general people about mental health and how we're feeling and all those kind of things. So what I urge everyone to please jump on Restless Leg at looking through them at Bandcamp is probably the quickest way to find some references. Also on Facebook, but you'll be able to check out that. We'll put some details of the upcoming tour, which is well underway. The back half of the tour, please get along to some of these gigs. Congratulations on the album, most importantly. and enjoy the back half of this tour. And I look forward to seeing you in Melbourne very soon.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks for having me. And I've really enjoyed our chat today. Thank you.
Beautiful. You're welcome anytime. All right, Ben. Have a great day.
Okay. Good evening. See ya.
Great. What a great chat with Ban Chamie from Restless Leg. It's a name, as soon as I saw it, it's always intrigued me on Restless Leg and the thoughts behind it. But I also want to thank Chris Familton for connecting us in amongst plenty of the artists that he's represented as well. So it's fantastic to have new music, new artists, and have new connections in amongst this show. So we've got a few more shows lined up in the next couple of weeks. Please stay and check out some of our music in shows and connections over time. So I just want to put a quick thank you to so many artists. We're going to have to put up a second slide, which is fantastic, of all the artists that have kind of joined us over time. And please get out there and support local music, most importantly, and grab a friend and get out and support a band and go and surprise yourself and walk into a venue that you haven't been to before or you haven't heard of the band before. There's some unbelievable band names out there. Trust me, go in, enjoy it, and text me later and tell me how good it was. Get out there, enjoy local music. See you soon.